What up? The Earlverse is live. Monday Night Raw, baby dolls. And I appreciate you guys coming in. It's the start of a new week. Hackamania year number 1 is over. And in my opinion, a success. To the haters, not so much. But that's okay. Que paso, mi amigo? I just got back from yoga. I'm feeling good. So let's talk about whatever is on your mind. AJS. Hello. I'm still recovering from the weekend, but I'm feeling good. Had a good show Saturday night at the Comedy Store. Although I did miss a chance to meet the Billy Goat, Will Ospreay, at a wrestling event that I was invited to. So the whole weekend was not great, but most of it was. So it's good to be back in the Earlverse home studio. I mean, I do wish I would have gotten to meet Will Ospreay, but you can't have everything. As Stephen Wright would say, you can't have everything. Where would you put it? Queen on, what up? I'm going to get a... Whoa. That almost breaks the record of the quickest super chat ever. Set yesterday. Cold Sea, $1.99. Que paso, Earl? Do we have a... Oh, okay, I thought we might have dueling Cold Seas in here. I'm doing really good. I'm in a good mood. And it's all good. OJ was funny in The Naked Gun. But you want to know a great OJ Simpson movie, and it's kind of under the radar because a lot of people saw him in, I believe, The Towering Inferno. But Capricorn 1, which was about the fake moon landing, or was it Mars? I forget if it was Mars or the moon. And OJ was one of the 3 astronauts, along with James Brolin and D.A. McCoy from Law and Order. I think Sam Waterston. And it was a very good movie. Great cat and mouse game, and it's got to be available on YouTube at the minimum. I could see Amazon. I could see with OJ dying recently, I'm sure some streaming service has it. OJ was the original choice for the Terminator, along with Lance Henriksen. Yes, John Doe gets it. I mean, who else was in it? Elliot Gould. And I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but there's a great scene toward the end with Sam Waterston. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I figured, YouTube, I was on a bender when I got back from Vegas, and after I got home from the Comedy Store Saturday night, I was on a bit of a, yes, Hal Holbrook, great actor. I think he passed away a couple years ago. And someone had told me that the Ray Liotta show I always talk about, Smith, every single episode was on YouTube. And sure enough, it was. Now, in the American version, They only showed the first 3 episodes, and then CBS canceled it, but a channel in the UK showed all 7 episodes, and, they were all on YouTube, and man, that was a great show. So if you, are looking for well, it's not a new show, but if you're looking for a show to watch, you wanna binge it, 7 episodes, look up, Smith episode 1, and then it just the same channel has all 7 episodes. It's, Ray Liotta, Virginia Madsen, Simon Baker, as you guys probably remember from The Mentalist, Johnny Lee Miller, uh, Amy Smart, who looked hot, and Chris Bauer, who plays the FBI agent chasing them. You would recognize Chris Bauer from maybe The Wire. He was on season 2 of The Docs. Did you watch Larry Sanders on HBO? No, I never watched it. You'd think I would have. YouTube, there's a lot of good stuff for free on YouTube. Now, I do suggest I pay YouTube Premium because, man, commercials on YouTube are fucking annoying. And I know you guys get ads on this channel, and I've set the ads to the minimum. So it could be as non-annoying as possible. I don't think the Fifth Corner, it was an even more under the radar show than Smith. I mean, because Alex MacArthur was the biggest, he was the most well-known cast member. So he was definitely no Ray Liotta. Um, but just horrible luck. And I told the story before. Uh, the first episode aired like 5 days before we invaded Iraq in '91, and got pretty good ratings. And then I think we invaded Iraq either on a Thursday or a Friday morning, at least Thursday or Friday morning in Los Angeles. It might have been nighttime in Iraq. And so they didn't air the next episode for like 2 weeks, and then they aired the next episode, and it just bombed because just people, it's just maybe the worst timing of any TV show. I think it would have done pretty well. I mean, John Hertzfeld directed it, and he was. If you watch Cobra, there's a guy in Cobra who's in like every scene with the ski mask over his head. He was like the night slasher's helper. He is good friends, maybe Stallone's best friend. So it's kind of funny when you watch the credits of Cobra, you see John Hertzfeld like 4th in the credits, but he didn't have a speaking part. He directed the show Fifth Corner, and I think just NBC just said fuck it. I believe I was in. I might have been in the first episode. I remember the first episode had Frank Stallone, and he came into the restaurant scene wearing a turquoise suit, and his line was, "Hey, I killed a turquoise leopard." Um, and then, very similar show, I think, aired maybe a couple years after that called John Doe on Fox, which was very similar to the Fifth Corner, where and kind of similar to the Pretender, where like John Doe, Dominic Purcell, who would later catch on with Prison Break, he knows everything except for who he is. So the whole series is him trying to find out who he is. Very similar to the Pretender. And I forget the exact plot of the Fifth Corner, but it was very similar. I think Alex MacArthur had amnesia, and he doesn't know if he's an assassin or just a normal guy. So good luck finding the Fifth Corner. I mean, I'd be amazed. You'd have to luck into like maybe a channel in the UK um, airing the episodes. I mean, I think there was around 4 or 5 episodes that they filmed, maybe more, maybe at least 6. but to my knowledge, only the first 2 ever aired. Um, did you watch WWE? Yeah, I watched, when, Sergeant Slaughter was an Iraqi sympathizer. What up, Cold C, Bud Shark Unite, Queen on T-Gun, Night Moose, the regulars there. We're a small but mighty bunch in the Earl Army, but I appreciate you all. Well, I really liked, John Doe because it had William Forsythe in it, Sprague Graydon, who later would play Opie's wife in Sons of Anarchy. Um, I don't watch WWE, my lost interest, and thank you for your clip of my, Hackamania review. Of course, I got shit on, I think the 3rd comment was, "Earl's more boring than Pat Dixon." I mean, what do you guys expect? I don't stream snipe. I don't, roast other people in the dabble world. I mean, yesterday was a rare, kind of a one night only, a Dabbleverse, special edition, just because Hackamania was essentially a Dabbleverse, comedy festival. It is a cold business, but I don't mind. I really don't mind. I mean, WWE and AEW, to be honest with you, is the same in the standpoint of the wrestling today is very choreographed. Yeah, I got some love too, no doubt about it. The bad compliments don't really. I don't mind them. Of course, no one likes to hear them. I'm a comic. Obviously, I do stand up for the approval of others because if you didn't, um, you just do stand up in your living room by yourself. Um, but no one likes to hear bad things said about them. But um, I try not to watch too much of the Dabbleverse because inevitably, when I get brought up, it's shedding on me. I mean, listen, the Dabbleverse does not exist to say, "Hey, Earl's really funny." I love your knowledge of niche actors from movies and TV, especially in the 80s and early 90s. Yeah, I just, that was my era, Michael Dudikoff, Don the Dragon Wilson, uh, Al Leong, who was like the go-to Asian guy. He was the guy who stole the Kit Kat bar in Die Hard. It's just a fun, era of movie making where it was much less special effects. And, when you look at like the first Missing in Action movie with Chuck Norris, it doesn't really stand up because there's no wacky special effects. So today's kids would probably go, "This is fucking boring." Uh, I I mean, I want to go see the Killers in Vegas. They are doing Queen on a residency at Caesar's Palace, but it's the original 4, and I've seen the Killers, I think, 2 or 3 times, and the closest I got to the original 4 was, in Vegas, I think 2 years ago, where Dave Koenig was on guitar, but no Mark Stormer on bass. So, because Mark Stormer, I believe, has hearing problems from a stage mishap, so he doesn't really play live anymore. But for this residency, he is. So I'm looking forward to seeing the original 4. Nothing against Ted, the left-handed guitar player in the Killers, when Dave doesn't play, but and the heavy set bass player. They're very good, obviously. But I kind of want to see the original 4. Good evening, SCVID show. Yes, it's a good to be back from Vegas. I won't bore you guys, as apparently I have done with some about the incredibly grueling drive to and fro. I will say this one more time: if I ever do drive to Vegas again, it will be at night, in the middle of the night, just because it was pretty brutal. Um, I mean, I got hit on a little bit at Pride, not too much. Favorite Vegas hotels. I mean, I don't really go to Vegas a lot, but I've stayed at the Luxor. It was all right for what it is. Um, I think I stayed at the Tropicana. It was pretty nice. Um, Caesars is awesome. So much history. I mean, that's where that Ron Lyle and George Foreman fight happened that I always try and tune you guys in on. Um, Stayed at the Hard Rock. That's a very or I guess it's not there, but they're bringing it back. That was fun. I'm a rock and roller, so it's kind of neat to see all the memorabilia. After finding out Burt Young dated Italia Shire from Rocky. Yeah, I mean, you got to figure in the 70s and 80s, most of the cast of any movie was fucking, you know. I mean, it was the Wild West back then. Um, what's funny to me is the first season of White Lotus, Jake Lacey was the bad guy in the show. He was kind of like the dicky husband. And I know him from I'm Dying Up Here, where he was like the nicest fucking guy off camera. So it was kind of hard to watch White Lotus and see him be a dick because I know he's like the nicest guy. It's like when I met Harley Cameron from AEW the other night after the LA show. We had dinner, me, her, and RJ City, and she's like the nicest person, but she's a heel. Um, I've been to a Raiders game in Vegas. I went to the Raiders Pittsburgh Steelers game last year, and strangely enough, they play the Steelers in Vegas again this year, which I don't understand how the Steelers are made to come out here 2 years in a row. I would think you'd switch off. If Wifey and I go to Vegas, who's the best comedy club? Brad Garrett's. I mean, I think when the Cellar originally opened a couple years ago, they would have the New York comics fly out, Mark Norman, Dan Soder, Big J. Okerson. I mean, so you'd basically get a New York comedy show with all their big names. But they seem to have stopped doing that because I'm sure it's a lot of money to fly these New York guys out. And, the bigger comics they are, I'm sure they want to fly first class and all that. So I would say Brad Garrett's because you get to see Brad Garrett, who's a great comic. There's also Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club. They have a lot of newer comics, so that's very hit or miss. I mean, Wise Guys is all over the place. They'll literally have an open mic level comic headlining, and then the next week is Mark Maron. So it's kind of very hit or miss. Um, LA Comedy Club is really just local Vegas comics. So, a lot are really funny, but Brad Garrett's, you'll get a show at Brad Garrett's that's like Brad Garrett host a lot of the times, and then you'll have a really good comic like Mo Mandel and Omid Singh. That's a great show. Whereas LA Comedy Club is just like Brett Ernst and like 3 Vegas open mic level comics. So it's a big drop in talent. Um, oh, anytime. Thank you for all the clips you do. I always get nervous when I see my lost interest clip and I'm involved, but um, you know, you've treated me well. Is there any hero you regret meeting in person? Yeah, John Saxon from Enter the Dragon. You have to be of a certain age to remember who John Saxon was. He was also the father in, I think, Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 2. I was going to my doctor's office, and out walks John Saxon. And, it's just me and him on the street. And, he was the gambler in Enter the Dragon, the guy who was always gambling on shit. So you had Bruce Lee, Jim Kelly, the black guy with the afro, and then John Saxon. Um, and he kind of reminded me of my dad in that movie, just like a swashbuckling gigolo. Hey, Mr. Saxon, Enter the Dragon is my favorite movie. Can I get your autograph? And he looks at me and goes, I don't have the time. Now I can understand if you went up to like Tom Cruise and say, hey, man, can I get your autograph and a picture? He's probably pretty busy most days, or Tom Hanks, or like Will Ospreay if he's at a wrestling show, because he'd be like, dude, if I take a picture with you, I got to take a picture with everyone. But I will say this about Will Ospreay: he took pictures with anyone who asked him Saturday night. But I was so fucking tired, I just couldn't go there. So that was kind of a bummer because I still watch Enter the Dragon whenever it's on. I did one comedy show with Ray Romano. I'm not like a huge fan, but I'm not a hater. Um, are you a fan of Elias Koteas? Yes, I loved him in Some Kind of Wonderful, which is a deep cut, kind of slightly under the radar John Hughes movie with the great Craig Sheffer. Those Vegas comics seem pretty bad at Hackamania. I gotta be honest with you, Mud Sharks. Kool-Aid killed in the room. Kool-Aid did very well. Now the guy who went on before me didn't, but like I don't think he was a Vegas comic. Okay, thank you, Colt C. Brad Garrett was great on it. Brad Garrett was amazing on I'm Dying Up Here. And I had one scene with him, a very quick scene. But now Gene Simmons was pretty funny. Um, Gene Simmons is a buffoon, but he's honest. He's like, hey, man, I'm in this business for money and pussy, and not necessarily that order. I like it when guys are honest about who they are. Did you ever meet John Pinette? Never met him. Don't know really much about his comedy. Is What with Eric Stoltz, Queen on. Gene Simmons is a creep, but he's pretty open about it. Like, if you're a pretty girl in a room, Gene Simmons is going to creep on you. That doesn't make it right. But, it's not like he's on the DL about it. He's DM'd a lot of my friends. Yes, it was a big bummer that John Saxon was kind of a dick to me. I mean, I'd be honest with you, OJ was really nice to me as a kid. What did I say to the Ultimate Warrior when I met him? I was last in line. I would guess there was about 200 people in line. And I would literally, they were going to stop the event, because TMZ was like busting Warriors balls. And so I go in there, walk up the stairs, and he's there in full makeup, looks ripped. He had like a flat top, so that was kind of a little weird. And it was like talking to Superman. Like I wasn't expecting him in full gear. So I just kept looking at his feet, going, I couldn't look at his face, man. I was so fucking starstruck. Like, hello, Mr. Warrior. Very nice to meet you. And he's like, did you buy any merch, young man? I'm like, yeah, I bought a shirt. And he's like, give this kid some sweats and a poster too. Like, it was really nice. And my friend used to be his entertainment lawyer. He's like, you don't want to meet him, dude. He's kind of a dick. He couldn't have been any nicer, to be completely honest with you. Kongzilla, dang, Earl doesn't obey comic hours, like not starting until a minimum midnight. I'm not quite sure what that means, Kongzilla. Simmons was great as the villain in Runaway. Also great in the Rutger Hauer movie Wanted, Dead or Alive. I was not checking out his hog. On Nutty Professor movie, Dave Chappelle roast a fat audience member relentlessly. Eddie Murphy, Professor Clump. Does that ever happen in real life? I only roast people if they like engage with me. I don't really go out of my way to roast people. Like I've had it a few times at the Comedy Store. I'm in the main room and like someone will like put their feet on the stage and it's like, dude, what do you think we're in your living room, bro? It's the number one stage in the fucking world. Like, relax. And but it's always playful. I've never met Sting. Hulk Hogan was actually pretty nice. You guys have seen that picture of me and Hulk Hogan. That was at WrestleMania when Motorhead was playing live Triple H's theme song. And so we're in Motorhead's dressing room backstage, and it was awesome. That was a really fun. That was the WrestleMania where Hulk Hogan saved Eugene, Eric Bischoff's Riri cousin from Muhammad Hassan and Davari. And so Hulk Hogan's hanging out in the dressing room and he's getting up to leave, and everyone's like pushing me to go meet him. I'm like, Mr. Hogan, can I get a picture with you? And he looks at me and goes, "Sure thing, brother." And now he's blocked me on Twitter. So what are you going to do? But he was very nice back then. I'm assuming he blocked me on Twitter because of my Hulk Hogan joke that was on um, Rich and Shameless, which TNT played 100,000 times and didn't pay me $1. Um, Munchausen Night. Ray DeVito only roasts fat people. Carlos Danger, Liam, Chad, Joey C. I mean, I can't speak for what Ray does, to be honest with you. You were never I mean, yeah, I liked Hulk Hogan. I mean, I was always a Warrior guy, Sid Vicious. But, you can't really deny Hulk Hogan's impact on the world of pro wrestling. I mean, he was, and maybe still is, the most well-known wrestler of all time. I mean, I guess you could say The Rock, but I think everyone knows the name Hulk Hogan. I mean, if you go up to older people and say The Rock, they might not know who he is. You go up to young kids and say Hulk Hogan, oh, the blonde guy. My girlfriend at the time was helping manage Motorhead. So we got carte blanche treatment at WrestleMania. I remember meeting Trish Stratus. She was really nice. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff was sitting on a couch alone, and I struck up a conversation with him. I remember he looked at me and goes, "Young man, what do you think of wrestling today?" I'm like, "It sucks." And he's like, "You're right." I remember seeing, I think it was Kurt Angle and The Undertaker hug each other, and they were fucking both limping. I think they had wrestled each other. So it's kind of weird to see two guys who on camera hated each other, and then they're hugging each other backstage. Yes, Hulk did take down Bubba's wife, no doubt about that. 3 moves and a shitty finish. Hello. Why are Hogan and Austin so thin-skinned? I don't know, man. I was very lucky. I think Austin blocked me because I said on one of Piper's podcasts, dude, your gimmick was crushing a beer can on your head. Like, relax. It's just a joke. I mean, how do you think Hogan and Austin would react to the Dabbleverse drama? I mean, so, what was funny as hell, Night Moose. Um, I'm not sure what you are talking about. My joke about Hulk Hogan, it's just a joke. Like, you know, like get over ourselves. That's why I don't take too much personally. Oh yeah, I mean, it's just like, come on, man. Like, I didn't. I can understand if I made a joke about like his domestic violence alleged interactions with Deborah. That's kind of crossing the line into personal stuff. But I sunned my balls this afternoon. Good for you, man. Good for you. Um, but and I don't know why he got mad at Will Sasso, who Will Sasso is like the nicest dude on earth. And he did a harmless impression of Stone Cold. Didn't bring up any personal stuff, which once again I could kind of understand if he did. All right, that's maybe crossing a line. But I just these wrestlers, man. And I get it. They walk out in an arena and everyone's calling them every word under the sun. And you get fans online ripping you for sucking or a shitty match. So you probably got a wall around you, but it wasn't easy being the co-host of Piper's podcast. Because I knew most people didn't know who I was. They just want to hear Piper. But what a lot of the haters didn't realize is Piper wanted me on the podcast. I even told him, "Dude, like, I don't think anyone wants to hear me on the show, bro. They just wanna hear you." He's like, "I need you." So, if you only knew the behind the scenes stuff, I think the haters would have been at least a little more amicable towards hearing me on the stream. Uh, yeah, I mean, come on, man. Hershey the Wonder Dog. It's a fucking funny impression. Uh, Will is like legit so nice. You think, all right, you can't be this nice. What angle are you playing? Well, I was not on the episode. I was not on the podcast yet. I had Piper had not been going to the Comedy Store that much around that time, and then the only reason I got on the podcast was one night randomly. I'm on stage in the original room talking about how angry I was at what they did to Sting in WWE. And Piper came up to me afterwards and be like, "Hey, man, why don't you come on the podcast and talk about it?" And then that episode, the first episode, I guess that would be considered our pilot episode, at least for me. Roddy's manager was like, "Hey, you guys have really good chemistry. Why don't you come on and be the co-host?" And then I think we did maybe anywhere from 6 to 8 episodes before Roddy passed. And we got kicked off a couple networks, and then the last plan was for Roddy to just start doing Inappropriate Earl. I don't know if we would have called it Inappropriate Earl, maybe Inappropriate Earl featuring Roddy Piper or something. Inappropriate Roddy, and then he passed away. And we were just going to do it at my house until we found another podcast home. So, yeah, thank you for the likes. Hit the likes, guys. Thank you to Colt C for the super chat. Did I see any signs of Piper's health in decline? I mean, not really. I mean, he would get confused sometimes, not a lot, but he'd be telling like a Sting story, and then he would just start randomly talking about, say, Kerry Von Erich, and then that's when I would kind of steer the conversation back to Sting or whatever. I mean, I used to see him at the 24-hour fitness gym, right? It's called John Reed Fitness now, but back then it was 24-hour fitness. So he was in good shape. I remember he put me in an arm bar once fucking around, and it hurt. Like he could still kick ass. I mean, I didn't know he was dying. I mean, he was slowing down a little bit for sure. Uh, yeah, I mean, I had some good times. I knew most of the people. We never did in-person interviews. So like the Jim Cornette interview was on the phone, Greg Valentine on the phone, The Godfather on the phone. They probably would have been better interviews for me if I could interact with them in the same room, but it costs a lot of money to fly people in to be interviewed. That was probably that's probably Greg Valentine. That's one of the few interviews we had to cut out some of the things he said because They Live did rule Big Black. I remember um, Roddy had lost his place. Him and Greg were talking. I think Greg Valentine was on the beach or something in like South Carolina. So it wasn't the best connection. And then Roddy kind of drew a blank and he kind of whispered to me, ask him a question. And I really wasn't paying attention to what they were talking about because these were done at 9 in the morning, which you guys know me. I'm not a morning person. So I was like, hey, Mr. Valentine, what'd you think of Billy and Chuck's gay wedding? And he just went on this really homophobic rant. And probably the last time Roddy asked me to go off script. I'm all out of bubble gum. Well, you guys will like this. I keep this over there because Lois will break it if I put it on here. But this is a to Earl You are the best. Roddy Piper. Bubblegum soda. I can put this here now because Lois isn't here yet. They live basically as a documentary on all the bullshit you see in Los Angeles with the right kind of glasses. Peter Chicken Man Brennan, what up? Do you miss Ahmed Johnson's red tights? Hello! Hashtag pride. Um, I do miss Ahmed Johnson. I'm telling you, Lois will break that. You know, she likes to get on the computer desk when I'm not home. And so I have to put it up top where she can't get to it because she is very creative with when she wants up on something she shouldn't be up on, she's up. What is Lois? Some sort of hard R? I don't know what that means, Waver. Did you get some new fans from Hackamania? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's not like I had like 100 new followers when I got home, but I picked up a few new followers. But I pretty much knew everyone there. I just had never met them before. But overall, I'm glad I did Hackamania. I gave it an A minus. I stand by that. Um, there's not a lot that I would have done differently. I guess the only thing I probably, looking back, that I wish they would have done is I wish they would have had a comedy show the second night because I think it's a lot to ask of the people to sit there from, I think Ray's podcast started at 3, and then Carl and Pat's, they did something at 10. So, and I'm sure that went 2 hours. So I just think it's a little much to ask people to listen to 10 straight hours of live podcasting, because you got to figure there's probably also going to be some repeat guests. And um I'm maybe next year for the second night you could do all the podcasts, you could do maybe a roast battle, you can do a comedy show as well. um so I think it couldn't have gone much better. I mean, I guess Saturday there were some sound difficulties, but I think, instead of rooting against Melton and really anyone else, Moody or whoever helped Melton put this together. I mean, listen, another comedy festival or whatever you want to call it, a comedy weekend that's successful is good for us all. It's good for you guys in the stream to watch. It's good for a comic like me to do. Um, put some. Did you get some new fan? What the fuck? Get over it. I enjoy you being objective and taking things in stride. Keep enjoying life. Well, thank you. What the fuck? Get over it. I mean, I'm a happy dude for the most part. So that's why I don't really get involved in the negativity of the Dabbleverse. Like I see people trying to goat me into talking bad about Liam because he wasn't the most complimentary on my stand up. I don't know Liam. I really don't. Um, so, if he doesn't think I'm funny, okay. You know, I'm not going to beg for someone I don't know. Please think I'm funny. And especially in the Dabbleverse land, you're never going to have 100% acceptance. For as great as Kevin Brennan is, he's got haters. For as great as I am, or whatever, I got my haters. I got my fans too. So Ben Jones, hello, boing. She's a cat, I believe. Oh, I see what you're talking about. No, she is a dog. Rough. Yeah, I mean Melton. Melton did not go up. I got my like pushed in. Thank you. No, I'm sure Liam's a nice guy. I don't know him. So, like, I'm not going to just manufacture some beef with some comic or movie maker, I guess he is, that I don't know. Well, I mean, Brick Block, I'm not critiquing Melton in terms of how he did it. I'm just saying what I would have done is like I would have stayed the second night if there was a comedy show, but I just really, and that was my fault. I didn't communicate with Melton enough to say, hey, I'm not going to stay Saturday for the podcast thing. I just it's not my interest. And plus, I did tell him, and probably too late. Hey, the Comedy Store offered me a spot Saturday night. That's $500, man. To close out the main room because you split the door with the other comics, and the show was sold out. So there's like only 6 or 7 comics on the lineup. So it's a nice paycheck. So and to speak highly of Melton, I even told him, hey, take the 2 days that you paid for in the hotel, Saturday and Sunday that I didn't use, take it off my check. He's like, "Don't worry about it." So Melton did me right, man. I know he's got his haters and he beefs with people, and that's fine. I don't get involved. If it doesn't include me, I don't really care. Um, so he did me right. Um, how long did it take to grow thick skin? I mean, I've been an LA comic for 25 years. Like, uh, so, I got alligator skin. Um, I mean, listen, we all as comics want to be liked and accepted. Otherwise, we'd be doing fucking stand up to our dogs. So does it suck to have someone say Earl's boring or his stream sucks or whatever? Sure, no one likes to hear that shit. But I also realize that most of these zingers are coming from Dabbleverse people, and it just you're never gonna have 100% acceptance. Even at Hackamania, as good as I did, one guy bombed at the Win Earl Skakel's money contest, and some dude in the crowd's like, "You're still better than Earl." It's like, okay, what am I gonna do? Beg the guy to like me? Let me buy you a drink so you think I'm funny. Um, Queen on $1.99. Did you ever meet any of the Goonies? I did meet Corey Feldman a few times at the Comedy Store and at Slim Jim Phantoms Club, the Cat Club on Sunset. No longer there. Nice dude. He's pretty funny. Um, I wish I met John Matuzak, who is one of my favorite football players of all time. Great in North Dallas 40. Waiver $1.49. I guess that's a super sticker. Doggos is better. Yay. Not sure what that means. Velo Urbane. You know who most comics are hesitant to critique. Critique Rogan. I wonder why. Yeah, I mean, you want to get on, the podcast. I mean, um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, you're not going to get on the podcast if he hears you saying he sucks. Um, Liam had a big ego. Yeah, I mean, I don't know him, so I don't. Liam said he did that because you roasted him on a podcast once about his premium blend special. Unlikely he really has a problem with you. Not that you care about him. I honestly don't remember doing that. But if he said I did it, I don't know, it might have been MLC, might have been, I don't remember. I mean, listen, I'll give him respect. He goes to USC Film School. That's no fucking joke. I mean, you're talking, that's where um, John Milius went to. I'm a huge fan of Spielberg. Zemeckis, I think, went there. Spielberg. So I don't remember doing that. But if he says I did it, I'm sure I did it. Well, I'm not. I didn't grow up dirt poor, but I grew up in kind of a rough household where you kind of had to fend on your own. I mean, my parents were not conventional like Beaver Cleaver, uh, but Peter Chicken Man Brennan, did you ever think of joining Andrew Keegan's cult? I don't know who that is, to be honest with you. Peter Chicken Man Brennan. I cannot lie to you. For the guy who went up before you, how bad would he have done in the main room? I mean, I'm not shitting on the guy who went up before me. Like, he just didn't do well, and that's fine. Everyone doesn't do well. But, you know, I think, he was telling from what I don't listen a lot to the person before me. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and obviously I'm nervous a little bit. Performance nerves. So, but he seemed to be telling like a long kind of meandering story, and it just didn't go over well. And listen, I'm always cool to people who don't do well before me, because I've not done well before someone else. So I gave him a fist bump and said, "Good job." And I could tell he was a little like, "Fuck, that was tough." Um, so, uh, but I'm not going to blame. I mean, it was. The first minute or two, I didn't get a lot of laughs. So, in comedy, you actually want to follow someone who does well. So you what they call ride the wave. So, the first couple, I think the first two jokes I told got like golf claps. Like, then I told one joke. I think it was the Holocaust joke that kind of got him back. Uh, so, when I was up there, I thought, "Oh, I'm not doing very well the first couple minutes." And then, I woke up the next morning, go, you know what? I couldn't have done much better. Going on last, it's not headlining. It's really on that show, it was going on last. So, uh, but there's not a lot I would do differently, to be honest with you, about the set. Um, how bad, but to answer your question, how bad would he have done in the main room? I mean, wow, that wouldn't, if he did what he did, and he might be a very funny comic. We all have one bad set, like I remember maybe about 2 months ago, I had a rough set in the main room, and actually everybody did. It was just, it was a crowd. It was during the Rose Bowl, where it was who played in the Rose Bowl, Michigan and Ohio State, or whoever the two teams was. The whole room was, half the side was Michigan, the other side was whoever they played, whatever school they played. So it's literally like doing a show between the Bloods and the Crips. So if someone walked in on me that night and it was the first time they ever saw me, they would go, "This guy sucks." So to the dude who went on before me, he might be a really funny comic, but that particular set was rough. So you know, it's the way it goes. If Adam Egan can get on Rogan, you should be there 2 times over. I mean, I would think, but, I don't want to be on Rogan unless Joe wants me on, because that would be a horrible interview because I know a few people, "Hey, you should have Earl on," but, if he doesn't want me on, it's not gonna be a good interview. I mean, we're friendly every time we see each other. I mean, when I did the mothership, he gave me a big hug. "Hey, welcome to my club. You need anything, let me know." He bought me dinner. Or he didn't buy me dinner, but he bought burgers for all the comics and shit. And these were not like Big Macs. These were like custom made Angus, whatever. Um, so I mean, I hope to be on it one day. That's something where, let me look and see how many followers I have on Instagram right now. So I don't have a producer, so I have to kind of go off script here and do my own producing. I have, let's see here, 11,000, close to 11,900 followers. If I went on Rogan and I did a good interview, I would go from 11,900 followers to 50,000, like that. I think I have 2,400 subscribers now on YouTube. I would be at 10,000 the next day. I mean, that's the Rogan bump if you have a good interview. And then, of course, if you get invited back, the numbers just grow and grow and grow. So, I mean, I don't remember hurting Liam's feelings, but I also, in my defense, in the last 5 years, I've probably gone on 200 podcasts. So uh, I honestly don't. I don't remember. And that's not me trying to be cool and make Liam seem uncool. Um, so maybe we'll be friends. I don't know. Um, Yeah, no, I mean, I said to him Friday night, uh, I what the fuck I'm talking to. I said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna leave tomorrow." Um, and he's like, "Oh man, dude, I got nothing on Stuttering John stuff, which I know a lot of the podcasts on Saturday we're gonna talk about and Dabbleverse stuff." Um, and I messaged him that night because someone had, this goes to show you the sabotage that goes on in the Dabbleverse. So I'm at the Dirty at 12:30 show, and Melton texts me, "Hey, someone said you're sleeping in your car tonight. You better sleep in the room. I paid for a room for you." I'm like, "Dude, I'm sleeping in the room tonight." Um, so someone's just start trying to get me and Melton against each other. And I messaged him on the way back. When I'm going back home to LA, I said, "Dude, take 2 nights, whatever the hotel costs you, take it out of my final pay." And he's like, "No way, dude. I appreciate you coming." So, because I did feel bad. I thought I said I'm only doing the stand up, you know, but next year I'll be like, "Hey, I'm just going to do the stand up." So book one night. Um, and Dagmar's brother Crush. I don't know who that is, Waver. Have you ever met a comic who couldn't finish a set because they bombed so bad? I mean, from what I'd heard, I didn't witness this, but Nick Swartzen opened up for Screech, and Screech bombed and went. Uh, he like left the stage, and the owner of the club was like, "Hey, get back out there and finish." Um, do you get more nervous performing away from the store? Not really. I mean, if you can play the main room at the Comedy Store on a Saturday night, and you got to understand, uh, although the lineups at the store maybe aren't as star-studded as they used to be, and that's because everyone moved. I mean, Joey Diaz went to Jersey, Joe and Hinchcliffe and Theo and Steve Byrne and Josh Wolf and a bunch of others, Tim Dillon. They moved to either Vegas, Nashville, or Austin. You're still following 7 headliners. So, I go on last at the store in the Holtzman, Kinnison, Brody, Tripoli spot. I'm following 7 headliners. Um, and they're all great. I'm following Steph Tolov. I'm following Rick Ingram, who's like the king of crowd work, along with Ian Bagg. Jeselnik's on, probably an hour before me. I'm following Kelly Ryan, Bruce Gray. I mean, they're very super funny. Frank Castillo. Um, everyone has TV credits. So like when I play, like say Hackamania, I probably had more TV credits than the whole festival put together. But I'm still nervous because TV credits don't mean anything. You're doing a live stand-up show. Uh, you know, all TV credits mean nothing. Um, so but I get nervous before every show. Um, my nerves at Rogan's Club were high because it was my first time there. Joe was there, and Joe watches. In the green room at the mothership, there's like a big Last Supper type table and couches, and everyone eats and chops it up and, sits around and talks. And there's 2 giant TVs in the room. One that's on the big boy room, which is basically the main room, and the little boy room. I think that's what they call it, which is like the original room. So you've got the feed of both rooms, and you could turn the volume up and watch. So, when I'm on the big boy room, which is kind of hard to play your first time. And I mean, not a lot of people get to play that room for their very first set. Usually have to start out in the smaller room, but because it was Brian Holtzman's room, I got a little bit of leeway there. Um, I I had a really good set. I mean, I'm not going to say I killed, but I was close. It was just a 10-minute set. Now, the guy before me had done very well. We talk about the guy at Hackamania not doing well. The guy before me, Landry, CL or CJ Landry, he had a great set. The guy before him, David Jolly, he had a great set. And Landry gave me a great intro. He's like, "This guy's an LA legend," and blah, blah, blah. So I was set up for success. So the second I walked out there, um, I got like a big applause. Versus when I walked out at Hackamania, I thought I'd get a huge applause, and I really didn't, to be honest. And I'm like, "Oh, this crowd's not feeling it right now." Um, so, uh, but yeah, I did. I was nervous because I don't think Joe's ever seen me do stand up before. Because usually when I go on at the store, he's long gone or he's in the back VIP bar talking to Hinchcliffe or whatever. And I don't know if he watched my set in terms of, hey, everyone shut up, Earl's on, let's turn up the volume. He could have, he might not have. Um, but he gave me a hug goodbye. Like, so we were cool when he left. What city could have a good comedy scene someday? I mean, San Diego could. There's a lot of clubs down there. You've got American Comedy Company, you've got the Laugh Factory, you've got the Comedy Store in La Jolla. Downtown San Diego has like 3 comedy clubs. Also have a club called Comedy Madhouse. Um, so, I mean, and it's in the Gaslamp district, which is kind of a happening district. That's what I thought I said, Boulder Johnny, but I might not have communicated that well with Melton, so that's my fault. Could I tell a difference between the open micers in Vegas compared to the ones in LA? I mean, there was the open mic competition was better than I thought it would be. I mean, I think it's pretty equal, to be honest with you. Like, if that open mic, Win Earl Skakel's Money was Potluck Tonight, which is the open mic at the Comedy Store, would have held up very well at the Comedy Store. I mean, really, one guy bombed toward the end. And he was like an older guy just fucking around, you could tell. So, um, is Joe backstage at the no, Joe's in the green room. Uh, what up, Sour Milk? Yo, 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 yo. What up, Grimace and Pain? Have I? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I have. AJ froze up, but I even when I forget a joke, sometimes that'll happen to me at the Comedy Store in the main room when I'm rolling, and I got to do an hour. I mean, I don't have to do it; I choose to do it because they let me. And I'll get heckled, or a glass will drop in the room, and I'll have to address it, because you just can't not talk about it. And I'll make a little joke about it, or there'll be noise in the hallway, and I'll have to address that. I'll get heckled, which I don't get heckled too much, and then I do that, and then I'm like, "Fuck, what was I talking about?" But I have a really good memory because I don't smash my brain with fucking drugs and booze. So it's very rare that I freeze. Has it never not happened? Yeah, it's happened, but not too much. Do crowds get tight and you have to unwind them, or is it's well, I mean, the crowd was tight when I walked on stage at Hackamania. They were not, um, because I don't think the comic. I forget who went on before the comic before the guy who went on before me, but the crowd. Kool-Aid, who was the heavy set Vegas comic, he did really well. Ray did pretty good. Um, and then there was a little bit of a lull in the show, and then I came out, so I could tell the crowd was, when I walked on stage, and they gave me a nice applause, but it wasn't amazing. I'm like, okay, they're tight. I knew instantly. Like, I can read a room like nobody in the world. It might be what I'm best at. I might be better at reading the room than my actual comedy, to be frank. Um, So, like, I know Saturday night, Frank Castillo went on before me at the store, and he had a very good set. So when I walked out there, they gave me a really nice applause, and a couple people yelled "Skakel," so I knew I was going to have a good set instantly. I mean, I wasn't even on the stage for 20 seconds, and I knew this is going to be a good set. And when I walked out on stage at Hackamania, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to win their trust back. And that's not to blame everything on the guy who went on before me. Um, you know, just, sometimes the crowd, you got to work a little to push them, especially when you're going on last. I mean, even Kevin Brennan said, um, it's the death spot. Um, because the only and I thought the venue was perfect for the event, because the performance room, it's a great space. I mean, the stage is probably better for a band than a comic, but it was a very good space. You didn't hear any noise from the bar, but it was pretty easy to leave and go to the bar. And that's not a knock on the venue. So, it was easy for the crowd to get up and leave if they wanted to, which it's not. I mean, listen, you want the crowd to be in an optimal mood and you want them to feel comfortable and relaxed. So, like at the Comedy Store, if you're sitting in the front or in the front to middle part of the main room, it's kind of awkward to leave because I'm going to see you. So it's weird. Um, but they needed to be, but I won them over, I would say 3 to 4 minutes in. Um, do you ever crush on stage and you're proud of your set, but the crowd is dead? Um, I mean, I rarely blame the audience, but like that one set I talked about a few minutes ago where I said everyone in the room did poorly. I mean, listen, whether you like Leslie or not, she kills almost every time. Crowd gets very excited for her. Even she had a soft set. Um, and the comics after her, I mean, literally not one comic had a good set. And I went on, and I got to do 40 minutes to an hour. And, I by no means had a great set, but I woke up the next morning going, that went as good as it could have. But that particular night, for and the reason was, it was half Ohio State, half Michigan fans. So it was like just the most awkward one off circumstance. You'll never really have that ever again. Like, where half the crowd is from, the enemy territory. Um, so, I mean, listen, I would say 10% of the time it's the crowd's fault. And going on last at the Comedy Store is tough. I mean, I went on Saturday night, 12:30, 12:45. So you got to figure that particular crowd, because there's two shows, has been there since 10 o'clock. They probably waited in line. So they've been there since probably 9:30, 9:15 sometimes. So they've been there for 3 hours. And the first half hour of that is standing in line. They're probably in a food coma from wherever they went to dinner. So they've been out of their house for 5, 6 hours. So by the time I get on stage, their attitude for the most part is make me laugh, monkey man, or we're out. Peter Chicken Man Brennan. So Emily and Peter didn't ask you for raise info. They did not. They did not. So you have no control waiver. You are essentially a natural communication major. ACDC 5150. Yo, 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 yo. What up? What up? What up? Boy! I turned on MLC today. I saw Kevin sniping My Lost Interest clip on me. I'm like, I'm gonna watch a hockey fight video. Look that. So we'll do a few more. We'll do 7 more minutes. We'll do 1 hour and 10 minutes. Who you got in the Stanley Cup? I mean, it all boils down to if Florida can stop Connor McDavid. I mean, Florida has the edge in goaltending. In my opinion, Bobrovsky's a better goaltender than Skinner. I would say, Florida can't take penalties because not only do you have McDavid, who I believe is hurt, he's clearly a little step below. Not only do you have, Draisaitl, who plays off of McDavid, but you also have Bouchard, who's a fucking monster, man. I mean, I forgot, or I shouldn't say I forgot. I didn't know how good Bouchard was. Have you ever had to take a dump going on stage? I mean, I probably have. I don't remember a specific instance, to be honest with you, but, um, I mean, I remember one time recently, Danny, the sound guy, said the comic who's on stage now. They got about 5 minutes left. So I go in the back. And then I got time to take a piss. And this comic wasn't doing well. So they got off early. So my dick was in my hand in the bathroom in the green room. And I hear, hey, give it up for your next act, Earl Skakel. So I pissed all over my leather pants and I shook this person's hand with piss all over it. Fuck them. Have you ever had to take? Oh, sorry, not in the leather pants. No, I mean I was just nervous. So how it works in the green room, the comedy stores, you've got the big green room, you've got like a back green room connected to it with a shower and like kind of like a looks like a movie trailer, where you can do your makeup or whatever, and then the bathroom is in the last half. So I heard my name, so I had to run through 2 rooms, and I'm putting my dick in my pants, I'm pissing all over my leather pants, and, I barely had time to wipe my hand on my I was gonna wipe my hand on a fucking $2,500 leather jacket, so I just kinda, like, shook it and then shook this person's hand. "Hello." Is Pump still open in West Hollywood, or did it close? No, it closed, and it is now being turned into Roosterfish, which was a gay bar in Venice, but it's kind of half and half now. Um, Locker room with shower. Yeah, it's basically a really nice locker room with showers. Peter Chicken Man Brennan. What's the most Hollywood story that you could tell during the Rogan years at the store when it was at its hottest? I mean, it would probably have to be roast battle related because you got to understand when Tommy got fired, Rogan came back. Adam took over. And Adam had a great game plan. You get Rogan back, Joey. You'd have to ask Adam what his game plan was, but I think it was okay. Let's get Rogan back. Then Joey Diaz comes back. And Sebastian will play here more. Let's get Rob Schneider back, and then if Schneider comes, David Spade will come. If Spade and Schneider come, Sandler will come. And then, with the first 2 people he passed, which were me and Candace Thompson, he knew 100 other comics who were more famous than me. But I think that was kind of a bat signal to younger and older comics. Hey, if you're funny, you'll get a chance here. And then Roast Battle was taking off at the same time. And so I would say some of those early roast battles were electric. Like, when Tyler, the Creator, was there. And like, here's one of the biggest rappers or urban entertainers in the world. And he's just sitting in the front row like a kid with Gerard Carmichael, just having a blast. And then, Chappelle, um, Jeff would bring Chappelle in, and, Dave Chappelle would sit there and like, this is when I was the house heckler, and like he would roast me and then I would roast him back. And it was like, here I am shitting on the number 1 comic in the world, and he's getting it. Like, and it was just magical. Like some of those roast battle shows were, the show was completely oversold. And then like Ivan Reitman came to a show once because his son Jason was a big fan of comedy or roast battle. And I had a really good show that night. And Ivan Reitman just looks at me and goes, who are you? And it was just like shit like that. And then one night, I don't remember, I think it was a roast battle night, but there were so many celebrities there. And then in the kitchen, you had Rami Malek and the guy, the new Batman guy, what's his name? Robert Pattinson or something, whatever his name is. He was there, and Esai Morales was there. Chappelle's there. John Mayer's there. I mean, it was really just like wildness. Holy shit, I live a pretty cool life. As a comic, is it hard to find anything funny? No, I mean, it's pretty easy, but it's also doing comedy ruins your life because everything I do is looking for the joke. So when I turn on the TV, no matter what's on, whether it be a hockey game, okay, is there anything funny going on in this game? Going to the market after this, okay, is there something funny I can make fun of right now? I mean, the early roast battle streams were awesome. It was just, yeah, Robert Patterson. I wasn't trying to be funny. I just didn't know his name. The early roast battle live streams were just fucking bonkers. I mean, I thought the show was much better when it wasn't on TV, because when it got to TV, I'll never forget the first roast battle after we got back from Montreal in my season, the first TV season. And I remember the show was really good that Tuesday. Everyone was funny. Jeff was funny. The Wave was funny. Moses was great. I was really funny. But I remember looking up in the VIP section, and there were a bunch of alt comics there. And alt comics hated Roast Battle, because Roast Battle is a hacky show. It's really just nothing more than skilled bullying. Hey, how do I call this guy fat? Or how do I call this girl a whore before they call me old? It's really just strategic bullying. Um, and, because the show was, my season was so successful, you could tell comics who hated the show were like, hey, how do we get on this show now? So the dynamic of the show changed. Biggest starstruck moment, probably meeting Jim Carrey. He had judged a roast battle, and this was when I was the heckler. And I was pretty funny that night. And, I've always said that my roast battle character, in terms of the heckler, was basically just ripping off Archie Bunker, the lovable racist buffoon. And no one ever got that. I don't even think Jeff got it. And so Jim Carrey's there, and the show ends, and everyone's hanging afterwards, and I'm leaving, and Jim Carrey leaves the conversation he was in and just whispers into my ear, hey, Archie, where's Edith? And that just shows you his fucking genius. Like, he got it. Yes, hit the likes before we leave tonight. What's your favorite John Candy role? Probably, was it Who's Harry Crumb? I think. I wasn't. Here's a funny John Candy story, and I'll leave on this. I met Brian Knobs and Bischoff at the Ric Flair roast. That is not how I got on I'm Dying Up Here. One of the producers one night was at Roast Battle, and he asked my friend Jerron Horton, who's a very funny comic, and this is when I would go pretty hard in the paint with the racial stuff. He's like, who's that guy in the corner? Is he a comic? And that's how I got on I'm Dying Up Here. I didn't even have to audition. I remember the first table read. The guy's like, you're not going to have a lot of lines, but we really like what you brought to the show the other night. We just want you to be a bitter late night comic. I'm like, no problem. Let me see. So that's the biggest starstruck moment. Here's a John Candy story. So, my dad was a member of Bel Air Country Club, and the 10th hole at Bel Air Country Club is the tee box is here, and then there's a huge canyon all the way up to here, and the green is up here. So the tee box is here. So you've got to hit the golf ball over a 200-foot or 200-yard, 250-yard canyon, or your ball goes into the canyon. And, for a pro golfer, it's an easy shot. They could do it in their fucking sleep. But, for a hack golfer like me or John Candy, it's an intimidating shot, because the grill room is right behind the tee box. So everyone eating lunch looks at you. I mean, every time I was eating lunch and someone would hit the 10th tee, you look. And John Candy must have dumped 5 straight balls into the canyon. I mean, he didn't even come close. So the caddy, my buddy, Tom E., goes, Mr. Candy, do you want to go drop your ball on the other side of the canyon? And he just looks at me and goes, I don't see a canyon. You had to be there, I guess. Yes, the Al Sims origin story. I mean, the scary thing is, the other writer and creator of the show came up to me, and he's like, dude, everyone loves you, man. I wrote you a scene, I just want you to know, where Ari Grainer, Cassie in the show, is so desperate she fucks you. But the network said they didn't want to see her get passed around like that. So I think if season 3 would have happened, that scene possibly could have happened. My biggest starstruck moment was meeting Edward Van Halen backstage. I realized how rock stars wow women's panties off. Yeah, I mean, rock stars are next level. I mean, especially Van Halen. And I'll say this about Gene Simmons. He's got a presence about him. Like he walks into the room, even if you don't know who he is, you don't know who Kiss is, you go, this guy is somebody. So, all right, you kids, we're going to end the stream here. I appreciate the 23 in here, the 39 likes. Let me thank the super chatters. I try and thank them at least a few times a show. Colt C, Peter Chicken Man, Brennan, Queen On, and Waver. I very much appreciate it. I know in these economic times, your disposable income is valuable. So I do appreciate whenever you guys tip. And if you can't tip or whatever, I completely understand it. Hit the like button. Um, Follow me everywhere. At Earl Skakel, as Kip Smith just put in. And, hit the subscribe button. That's really, almost as important as super chats or gifted memberships or super stickers or whatever, super thanks on videos, because hitting the like button and the subscribe button gets you in the algorithm of the suggested videos. And that's when the numbers pick up. So we will do another stream. I'm going to try and to go Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. and then probably take a Saturday off. And Sunday nights seem to be a fun time to stream. I don't want to do it every day because then it's just give me money, panhandle, panhandle. OJ Tour, possibly Sunday. I've got to go and drive the route to see it's not too long. I believe from Nicole's condo to OJ's house, which has been demolished, I believe, on Rockingham. It's got to be at least 2 miles. That's a long walk at night. Jordan the Lion in the house. I'm just about to end, baby doll. Jordan, I fucked up. When I got back from Vegas Saturday night, I was so fucking tired, and you guys know that, but I don't think Jordan does. I was exhausted. I get a text from my buddy. I was supposed to go to the Lucha Brothers wrestling show at the Ukrainian Cultural Center. He's like, bro, Will Ospreay's here, and he's taking pictures with everybody. And I don't think my buddy would mind me saying this. I get another text from the great, legendary Dolph Ziggler, a.k.a. Nick Nemeth. He's like, bro, I just put you over to Will Ospreay. Where are you? And I fucked up. I was so tired I didn't go. Story of my life, whether it be Will Ospreay or Joe Rogan. And I wonder why I'm happy doing a stream to 22 people right now, which I actually am. I can see the stream growing at 21 people now. The people are bailing on me as I'm giving thanks. It's kind of exciting for me to see the stream growing. So I do appreciate you guys. So my schedule is going to try and be, pending a gig, Monday through Friday, take Saturday off, and then Sunday. So 6 nights a week. That's pretty good. Well, I mean, I do see the numbers are growing a little bit. And it's really, as Jordan will tell you, it's really about, I'm not saying those names, Jordan and ACDC. You guys got me once. I do see a slight improvement. I mean, obviously, when you've got Kevin Brennan with 1,000 people in a stream today, Shuley, I think I looked at when I went to sleep this morning, he had like 1,250. Like, that's insane to me. But they also, they're doing the Stuttering John stuff, and I can't do that. I literally would rather have 22 people in here, make a few bucks, even just get some new subscribers, and that's a win for me. Because really the whole goal for, I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I want to make this channel as like one day, hopefully as big as Jordan's or somewhere near there. So people want to see me do stand up. Because the more people want to see me do stand up, the more places I can play. Not that I want to be a road comic, but you know, listen, comedy clubs won't book you unless they think you can fill seats. It's the bottom line. So, Earl Skakel, over and out. AC/DC, you're out of control, but I love you anyway.